Middle School Coordinator for Social Studies. Welcome to Quarter 4 Content Training. At this time, please pause the video to access your participant guide by using the bit.ly or the QR code shown here on the screen. The participant guide is a forced copy and will be a very valuable tool during the duration of this session. Of course, we always want to start with our beliefs. We believe that we should be focused on effective Tier 1 instruction, equitable access and outcomes, and continually pursuing excellence. Let's begin with our learning objective for this session. I am preparing for Quarter 4 content, high stakes testing, and ensuring students are ready for high school. Our success criteria are as follows: to use assessment data, release questions, grade A structured lessons to plan for Quarter 4 instruction. I can apply the Focus IPC, the instructional planning calendar, to support high leverage TEKS. And finally, I can assign standard-based projects that prepare students for high school. So let's get started with success criteria 1. Using assessment data, looking at release questions, and grade A structured lessons to help plan and prepare for Quarter 4 instruction. So first, we always want to start with the data. And I want to start with 8.9, which is a history strand. And this particular SC, family of SCs, it deals with Reconstruction. As you can see from the data, this family of SEs has been tested consistently since 2018. So let's begin with the knowledge and skills statement so that we can understand the what, the how, and the context students are expected to learn. So according to the history strand, which says the student understands the effects of Reconstruction. So the effects is the what? Of Reconstruction on the political, economic, and social life of the nation. That's your context. And the student within this family of SEs, they are expected to do 3 things. So let's take a look at the actual SEs. At the bottom of the screen, we see 8.9A. And according to this SE, students need to be able to evaluate. When students evaluate, they actually formulate an opinion based on facts. So the students need to be able to evaluate legislative reform programs of the Radical Reconstruction Congress and reconstructed state governments. According to 8.9b, students should be able to explain the impact and effect of the election of African Americans from the South, such as Hiram Rhodes rebels. And finally, from 8.9c, students should be able to explain the economic, political, and social problems during Reconstruction, and there's a second verb, evaluate their impact or effects on different groups. So I would like to focus on how 8.9c was tested last year. So let's take a look at the question. Last year, the students were given a straightforward question. The question says, which statement explains the purpose of military governments in the South during Reconstruction? Here, the students need to understand that there was a military government. The military government was divided into 5 military districts in the South during Reconstruction. With this information in mind, students can synthesize, looking at the 4 answer choices, and choose B as the correct answer. The purpose of the military government in the South during Reconstruction was to protect and ensure the rights of newly freed enslaved people. Now, let's take a look at another government, or the government strand, 8.16. Looking at the data, we can tell that these two SEs, 8.16a and 8.16b, have been tested pretty consistently since 2018. Although it was not tested last year, who knows how it will be tested or if it will be tested in 2024. So we want to prepare our students. Although these two SEs are not high leverage standards, the student is expected to understand the content to be able to answer these questions. So let's look at the knowledge and skill statement. The student understands the purpose. That's our what. What do they need to understand the purpose of? The purpose of changing the U.S. Constitution. And they also need to understand the impact. This is another what. They need to understand the impact or the effect of amendments when or during on American society. The knowledge and skill statement is very important. If you don't consider the knowledge and skill statement, the SEs alone may not make sense. But according to these two SEs, 8.16a, students are to summarize the purposes for amending the U.S. Constitution. Students need to simply understand that the Constitution is a living, breathing document, so to speak, and it can change to adapt to the changing times. And according to 8.16b, during the Reconstruction period, students need to be able to describe the impact or the effect that the Reconstruction amendments had on society. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, the Reconstruction Amendments. It's not enough for students to remember the cute anecdote that we tell them, free citizens vote. They need to understand not only that, but how these newly um, rights impacted society. So let's take a look specifically at how 8.16b was tested. So from 2022, they had again a straightforward question. The question was asking students to identify one effect of the 15th Amendment. So they know that the 15th Amendment gave the new Black American, African American male the right to vote. But what was the effect of that? Well, after considering the four answer choices, students should have been able to choose B, that Black voters helped bring the Republican Party to power in the South. In 2021, again, students were given an opportunity to identify an effect. This time, it was the 13th Amendment. So after considering the excerpt, they have to read the excerpt, but they really need to know what was the purpose of the 13th Amendment and how might that 13th Amendment been an effect on these former slaves. Now, the 13th Amendment did free the slaves, and your students need to understand that although they were free, they were not necessarily economically prepared to move about the country. With this in mind, and after considering the four answer choices, students should determine the answer is C, because many of these former slaves had to become sharecroppers to earn a living. Now it is your turn. Let the release questions inform your instruction. From just the three questions we just looked at, we realize that we need to ensure our students understand the purpose of military governments and how exactly having these three new amendments added to the Constitution affected American society, specifically in the South. So let's use the release questions to inform our instruction. On your participant guide, you will find the Reconstruction Lead Forward IQ tool. I simply want you to pause the video, choose 5 questions to review. As you review these 5 questions, write down 3 or more teacher moves that you know that you will need to make in order for your students to be successful after the delivery of your lesson. Welcome back. I hope that you found that exercise valuable, and that it will help inform your instruction and your teacher moves. Now we're going to look at the second part of our learning objective, our success criteria, which is to look at structured lessons. On your participant guide, please access the IPC for week 28. Let's review one lesson from Unit 12, Lesson 1A. The title of this lesson is Plans for Reconstruction. In the fourth column, you will find this lesson linked. Now, I want you to be a critical consumer of this lesson. As you turn to page 2 of this lesson, you will find in the materials box all of the items that are listed throughout this lesson, beginning with the slide presentation, a Constitution reading, and other resources to help bring this lesson to life. As a critical consumer of this lesson, when you look through this lesson, you want to think about your students, and you want to think about any additional scaffolds that your students may need to be successful in accessing and having agency as they go through this lesson. In addition to the vocabulary that's provided in the lesson, think about additional vocabulary terms that you know your students will need to have preloaded, so to speak, in order for them to understand the lesson. Also, consider the questions and the checks for understanding that you want to embed in this lesson, and also connections that you want to make from previous learning or even future learning to set your students up for success. At this time, please pause the video and become a critical consumer of this lesson. This is a wonderful practice that you can do by yourself or with your colleagues. This planning template is on your participant guide. So as you pause, or when you pause the video, please open up this lesson, go through, read the reading, consider the vocabulary that your students will need, and add your checks for understanding. Simply make your exemplar. And then finally, after you do that, you definitely want to open up the DOL to see if this lesson will guide your students to the successful completion of that DOL. See you in a few. Okay, welcome back. I hope that you took this opportunity to make your exemplar, to consider additional scaffolds that your students will need, as well as teacher moves, checks for understanding, additional connections that you can make throughout this lesson, as well as to previous learning and future learning. All right, we're ready for success criteria 2. Success criteria 2 says that you will be able to apply the Focus IPC to support high leverage TEKS. This document is also linked to your participant guide. Go ahead and access this document as I walk you through what this valuable document contains. Okay, so to start off, this document is based on the 2023 ACP data. This document is designed to respond to the high leverage standards that will yield mastery of a cluster of texts. This IPC will be best used between March 25th and April 12th. At the top of this document, you're going to see the year-long standards. These standards are always embedded as we teach about the history, the culture, geography, and economics. Also at the top, there are opportunities for your students to have additional practice with the short constructed response. Next, I want to bring your attention to the themes of U.S. history. This is a powerful document, and it will ensure mastery of 22 standards in addition to the year-long standards. This document is a game changer. This document allows students to work with a partner. The purpose of this document is for students to work with a partner, and the power is in the academic discourse. It's in the conversation that these students will have. The document is set up and focused on 4 questions on slavery versus abolitionism, religion, the power of government, geography, and sectionalism, and how these 4 concepts not only change within the era, but over time. So the students will see the progression of these 4 major concepts over time. There is a key provided. Now, the purpose of this document is for students to have that conversation, grapple with the content, and decide what needs to be written in each box. It is not intended for you to put the key up and have students copy. That will not enforce cognitive demand. The power is in the conversation, and the additional power is in when students write their information in the boxes. Now, of course, you can always provide a scaffold by ensuring students complete 1 page at a time, not to overwhelm them. 1 page at a time consists of 3 eras and these 4 questions. Give the students an opportunity to have that conversation. Now you can show them the key afterwards so that they can check their understanding, check what they have decided to add to the box. But when they grapple with the content here and they put the information in the boxes and then you verify what they've written, then they own the learning. Next, I want to talk to you about the Manifest Destiny Map. When you access this folder, you will find an opportunity to create a Manifest Destiny layered map. This map will give the students an idea of how the country actually grew westward through war, acquisition, and treaty. This activity helps to ensure mastery of 15 plus standards in addition to the year-long standards. Doing this activity, the students, as they take notes, not only learn the history, but the economics and the geography of westward expansion. And also on this page, you have additional support from TEA, the frequency distribution chart. Again, you have the social studies SCR rubric, and also there are supplemental aids and graphic organizers that you can begin to help students prepare to make notes prior to testing. Students can have blank maps, blank charts prior to testing in order to write down everything they need, and this will be a support, a tool that they can use during testing. All right, that's page 1. Let's go to page 2. Page 2 consists of boxes that are broken down by either reviews or the eras. As you can see, the first 2 boxes deal with an overview, content overviews, and era overview. The very last box is geography. Again, you're going to find the Manifest Destiny map along with other maps from our course, such as the Missouri Compromise of 1820, the results of the French and Indian War. As students complete maps, they have a better understanding of the geography and where in the world are we, or where in the country are we, during our unit of study. Each box will contain, as you can see, linked resources for review. I now want to bring your attention to the linked SEs. As you can see at the top, 8.2a has a link. When you click on these linked SEs, it brings you to a slide that breaks down information for this SE. So looking at 8.2a, we know that 58% of our students mastered the content knowledge of this SE. We also see how it was tested the last 2 years on STAR, and you have an idea of how the ACP questions were written for both honors and regular. Also, most topic squares will take you back to the curriculum. This is so that you can look at the lessons as a refresher to see how the lessons were designed to support the SEs. So, with this in mind, you may look at your data and say, my students may need to review 8.5E, which of course is an SE from the early republic. So considering the resources in this box, you choose Summary of Early Republic. This summary is from Washington to Jackson, and there's also a key for your convenience. Now, if you choose this resource, you will find that this is a 5-page document dedicated to the presidents of the early republic. Not to overwhelm the students, assign one page at a time. Assign one page at a time, go over it, be interactive with the review so that your students can understand what each president brought to the early republic. Again, this is a 5-page document. It covers Washington to Jackson. So the suggestion is to piecemeal this document one page at a time so that students won't feel overwhelmed. Okay, now it's your turn. Take a deep dive into this IPC and consider, based on your ACP data, your DOL data, and any other data that you have collected on your students this year, based on your data, which SCs do you know your students will need additional support to ensure mastery during this high-stakes testing season? Pause the video and review this document in great detail, and then determine what your next steps will be for implementation during the window March 25th through April 12th. Okay, welcome back. And I hope you find that in using the IPC, there are a plethora of activities that will support students reviewing just in time to ensure that they are ready for that high stakes test. If you have any questions about this document, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. If you have a question on how to prepare some of the resources, I'm here. We actually had a grade 8 academy on March 2nd, and several teachers, several campuses participated, and they were able to actually make some of these resources that are linked, and they experienced the themes across history document, and they truly understood the value in the conversation and the grappling with the content. Even our teachers had to admit that they truly had to think about how these concepts changed over time. It was exciting and it was a fun day. Reach out if you have questions. So now, finally, let's look at our third success criteria, which says that I can assign standard-based projects that prepare students for high school. Well, of course, after the high stakes testing season is over, you want to keep the students engaged in learning. This is a great opportunity for students to continue learning and be creative. That is very important. You want students to enjoy and to apply what they've learned from you all year. On your participant guide, you have this document, standards-based grade 8 projects. There are only 4 projects, but they are ideal for after the high stakes testing season. So let's look at this document. This document contains 4 projects. Each project has a detailed description. It also has a focus question that the students need to answer to complete the project. And project 4 has a project statement that keeps them focused as they complete the project. Every project is pretty much set up the same. So let's focus on what these projects have in addition to the description and the question. They also have a student handout. The purpose of the student handout is to guide the students to successful completion of each project. Considering project 1, I want to bring to your attention that you get a detailed description of what's expected from this project. This project is an opportunity for students to create a time capsule. So they're going to bring in their shoe boxes or their canisters and they're going to decorate it. And they're going to focus on this question as they create this time capsule. Which 18 events from the time period they studied, 1607 to 1877, most significantly shaped early U.S. history? They will assemble this time capsule for future generations, of course, and it's going to contain collected or created items such as newspaper headlines, little trinkets they can make, memoirs, whatever they feel will best represent the chosen 18 events they choose to put inside this time capsule. For 9 of these events, there's a writing piece. They're going to describe why 9 of these events are included, and they will rank them in significance. Finally, they are to include personal journal entries from the point of view of a teenager at this time. The associate, the associated essays are listed under each project. Now let's talk about what the student handout has to offer. The student handout gives the students additional information on how to proceed and complete the project. It gives them the requirements. If they want an A, follow the requirements. It also comes with a rubric for you to determine how you're going to award points. Let the students grade themselves first, and then you can come behind and give them a grade also, and maybe average the grades. Now it's your turn to pause the video and review the projects and determine which 2 your students will complete after the high stakes testing season. Be prepared to share your 2 and tell why you chose the 2 that you did for your students. Welcome back. Well, that's all the time we have. I hope you have enjoyed preparing for Content Quarter 4 instruction. I will see you next time. Keep your eye out for the Lion's Den.